Good afternoon, everybody. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Bob Scott, president of Scott Strategic Investments, wealth management firm here in Pagosa Springs, Colorado. Been here since 1998. Thanks for joining us. As some of you may know, we're doing a webinar a month. We've got a passion for educating our clients and people that are thinking about retiring or retired. So we're glad you joined us. You've got the varsity squad today. I've been in the business for about 30 years, and Kristen Bellows, who's going to be speaking today, is with Jackson National Life. She's been with Jackson for 22 years. So we've been through a few market cycles, and I'm excited to have her talk today. And if you've got questions, please write those down, and at the end we'll have a little Q&A session, or if you want to fire them off to me in the chat box, that's great too. The mountain climbing analogy, I think, is very appropriate for people thinking about retirement. The market is very forgiving when we're accumulating, and volatility and down markets work in our favor if we're saving along the way, but it's a different story and a different exercise when we're trying to get down the retirement mountain and use those assets to fund our lifestyle in retirement. So Kristen's going to give us some thoughts on getting down the retirement mountain. Kristen, I'll throw it over to you.
Fantastic. Can you hear me okay?
100%.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much for the invitation. Today's presentation is called Going Down the Mountain, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and get that started.
And I'm also going to say, I just want to emphasize that this is for education only. We are just trying to make people smarter and wiser as they head down that retirement mountain.
All right, can you see my screen okay?
Absolutely.
Okay, fantastic. Well, welcome. I'm Kristen Bellows with Jackson. And as Bob said, I'm on my 22nd year. And just in case you're trying to do the math, I started when I was 13. And today I want to talk about a topic that seems to be either misunderstood or severely oversimplified amongst the financial services industry, popular press, and even elite financial professionals. And that is the unique and very real challenge of retirement income planning. So this presentation is titled Going Down the Mountain. First, a few words from our lawyers. Everyone raise their hand when they're done reading.
They're all raised.
Okay, one more. One more. One more. Boy, I see compliance is on the call with us. I hope we did our part showing those 4 slides. So, going down the mountain, crossing the retirement income Rubicon. When I first saw this presentation about a year ago, I thought, that's interesting. But here's what's really interesting. 75% of mountain climbing accidents occur on the way down. So you've probably heard going down the mountain, and maybe you've heard of the statistic of falling on the way down. That's where the accidents happen after the summit. The metaphor holds true for retirement income. When you have reached your peak retirement savings and decide to stop working, your savings are subject to being completely depleted. Successful retirement spending depends on a plan that allows you to meet your needs and wants without your accounts falling to zero. Well, what about the Rubicon? It's an excellent metaphor for retirement income for 2 reasons. First, to cross the Rubicon means to take a decisive, irrevocable step. When Julius Caesar crossed the Rubicon River in Italy in 49 BC, he knew there was no going back, and that his actions would start a war with Rome. Secondly, when Caesar crossed the Rubicon, he exclaimed, "Lacta alle est," the die is cast. The phrase meant that he was about to take an unpredictable chance. While the decision to retire certainly isn't irrevocable, you could always go back to work. My guess is that once retired, you would rather not return to work. And while we would rather not leave our retirement up to chance, we certainly don't know what markets will do. We all want to realize the retirement we've dreamed about. So, in previous generations, employer sponsored pension plans were available to many workers. These plans guaranteed workers a certain amount of income in retirement. But over the past 30 years, there's been a seismic shift in retirement planning. The classic company pension has all but disappeared, leading to the widespread adoption of defined contribution plans, such as 401ks. Defined contribution plans are very valuable to employees, but they shift the investment risk and responsibility from the employer to you, the worker. What has gotten overlooked is income. With so much focus on accumulation in retirement planning, income strategies haven't gotten enough attention. So here's some examples of plain English questions that you as the investor might ask. When can I retire? How much income will I have if I retire? Well, the pension answer would have been, you can retire at 65 and take 60% of your salary. What if I retire early? Well, the pension answer would have been, well, you can take an early retirement at 55 with 45% of your average salary. What would happen if I stopped working today? Well, if you leave now, you will receive $1,500 a month, for example, at age 65. So in the days of the defined benefit pension plans, if you asked your pension plan administrator these questions, you might get answers like these. Again, these are basic answers that directly address income concerns. So here's the part that I think really inspired Bob to, get this conversation going in his community. 10,000 people turn 65 every single day for the next 10 years. And their number one fear is running out of income. The problem is, and as this slide shows, is it used to be that 60% of companies offered some kind of pension plan. Today, only 4% do. That means that of those 10,000 people, 9,600 people have no guaranteed lifetime income. So today's questions and answers are a little bit more complex. If you, as a 401k plan participant, ask these questions, you might receive a policy statement that says your investments are diversified and earned 3.2% this period, which underperformed the index, but the Sharpe ratio is better than average. I mean, the jargon, right? If you're lucky, you may even get a few nice colored pie charts that show you how you're invested. To the average investor, this may seem very sophisticated and frankly, somewhat overwhelming. I don't know about you, but when I'm in a room with people that seem to understand what's going on, I don't want to be the one to ask the question, right? But we know there's no dumb question. So today's presentation is not as much about this presentation and all the slides, it's about you. And as we say things and discuss concepts over the next 20 minutes or so, you have the opportunity to speak up. So I'll remind you, there is a Q&A that you can type in questions and either Bob or I will field them as they come across. So the disconnect with retirement income is real. And there's folks like Bob Merton, Nobel laureate, who says investment decisions are now focused on the value of funds and how volatile those returns are. Yet the primary concern of savers remains, will I have enough income? Going back to those 10,000 people who turned 65. And then Harry Markowitz, Nobel laureate in economics, he actually received it based on behavioral finance, because what happens when the market corrects? We get nervous, we run to the sidelines. And when are we comfortable getting back in the market? After it's recovered. Usually we miss the pop. You can't make an average of 8 to 10% return over time if you miss the recoveries. And the average consumer absolutely misses the recovery. You see it on all the different charts in financial services. The index did this, but the investor did this. Why? Because of their emotional behavior. And then this was a new one to me. Teresa Gerladucci, but her statement was really interesting. So she says you need to save about 20% more in a defined contribution plan, such as 401k, than in a defined benefit plan, just to ensure you'll have enough money to if you live till 90. And I'm going to circle back to that live till 90 because longevity or life expectancy is not a drop dead age. It's a median drop dead age. More on that in a second. So we have accumulation planning and income planning. And while many researchers might agree, there's a huge difference between going up the mountain, accumulation planning, and going down the mountain, distribution, decumulation. So traditionally, portfolio volatility, the ups and downs of your account, it's an important concern. And it's a great proxy for income volatility. But does it have to be? The two are not as connected as you might think. So high quality intermediate term bonds are often used as a way to provide retirement income. I'm sure it's not lost on anyone on this call that the 10-year treasury has been hanging out between 1% and 2%. Matter of fact, I'm going to pause from the presentation for 1 second here and go to Fidelity's website. This is a public website. Anyone can pull it up. It's fidelity.com. I go to news and research, and then I click on fixed income bonds and CDs, and they update it every 15 minutes. The reality is, if you simply look here at US Treasury and you go all the way out, your 30-year plus US Treasury is 2.26 as of the last 15 minutes. That's barely keeping up with inflation. How about this for a retirement income equation? Dollars available, projected life expectancy, future interest rates. That's a lot to take in, right? Again, life expectancy is one of those X factors. Matter of fact, when planning for retirement, there's 3 main concerns. I call them the sequence of concerns. This too is a client-facing piece that Bob can share with you after the meeting. The 3 sequence of concerns when preparing to go down the mountain, if you will, are market volatility, longevity, and inflation. Now, market volatility is simply the up and down of the market, but again, our emotions often react with that volatility. And longevity or life expectancy, as I mentioned, is not a drop dead age. It is a median drop dead age. You see, there's different calculators out there, and we can certainly point you to some that'll give you your projected longevity. What that is it's a 50%. So 50% of the people who signed provided the same information, have the same gender, the same demographics, the same race, all that, will die before that age, and 50% will die after that age. So the longevity or life expectancy is the median age. So if my life expectancy is 97%, it doesn't mean I can plan till 97. It means that 50% of the people who responded just like me, who have the same demographics, gender, et cetera, will die before 97, and 50% will die after 97. And then the last one is inflation. The third sequence of concern I would submit is the most influential one. Inflation is the difference between retiring with dignity or not. Inflation is all about your purchasing power. So we could talk through what is the best income to meet your needs today, but we have to inflate those dollars because everything's going to cost more in 20 years. And if you live into retirement, as long as it took you to get there, 30, 40 years, well, we need to be able to grow that dollar. And again, I have some other client-facing resources you can access on your own. I'll show you in a minute, but let's get back to the presentation. And Bob, I'm not seeing any Q&A, but you feel free to interrupt me if you need
bet.
to. Okay. So this is a really interesting slide, and it comes from a white paper that Moshe Milevsky is a professor in Canada who actually went out to write an article on certain insurance products that would solve some of this need. And what he realized is that he had to write a new article called The Confessions of His Criticism, because the reality is there's certain things in those sequence of concerns that I mentioned that you just don't have any control over. And so here's two of them. Remember, sequence of concerns: market volatility, longevity, inflation. This one address market volatility and longevity. So if we just have the grid and the screen, and the top half of it is market returns, and this one right here, market returns with a short life. Do we have any risk in retirement running out of income? No, because the market was good and we died early. What if we have a long life with good market returns? Do we have any risk of running out of income, of falling down the mountain? Nope, the wind was beneath our sail. What if we have a short life, but the market wasn't great? We don't have really that much retirement risk because, again, we had a short life. Maybe that short life could not have been sustained because the market wasn't great, but we died early, so we just didn't leave any legacy. What if we hit the life expectancy jackpot and the market did not cooperate? I'm not even going to ask you if we had risk. I'm going to ask you to contemplate, what do you do about that risk? Because you see, 75% of the time over the last century, the market has been up. And half of that time, it's been up over 20%. But the 25% of the time that the market has been down, if that is when you choose to retire, think of anyone you know who chose to retire in 2008. Now it's 100% risk, right? It's 100% of the market returns not being in your favor. We call that sequence of returns. And I don't mean to confuse you. I call all three sequence of concerns, but sequence of returns is specifically speaking to the timing of the market based on your retirement income timing. And this chart, again, just kind of shows you all the different scenarios. And there's 4 possible outcomes. Markets up, you live early, you die early. Markets down, you die early, you live a long time. And the red one is the one that's most critical, that we can plan around. We can't control it, but we can certainly plan for it. So success versus failure. One of the approaches, you might remember those commercials years ago. What's your number? Focus on a number. And once you get that number, you're good. You can retire. Another one is a 4% rule. Bob Merton, the guy I showed the picture of earlier, back in the 80s, was a very successful RIA. And his clients were asking him, and registered investment advisor, his clients were asking him, what is the safe money amount? What can I take out of my retirement assets that I build? And he came up with 4%. The problem is he never addressed taxes, and he never addressed the financial advisor, or himself in this case, getting paid. So the 4% was gross. It was not net. Here we go. Oops. I thought there was a slide here that was going to give us a little bit of the math on this. Yeah, the conventional rule here says that you can live off of this, and many consumers still believe this because that's what they've heard, that's what they've read. But I'm going to prove to you here in a few slides that the focus on accumulation with the number, or focus on 4%, is just not solving all 3 of the sequence of concerns. A long life and poor timing. So here's a nice slide showing you the sequence of returns risk. That first one I mentioned, market volatility. So what you see here is the market is negative, but because this person's in the accumulation phase, they have time for recovery. That's what we're always telling kids right when they get out of college. Even if you can save $25 a month, start saving it, right? All we did here is inverse the return. So we started with positive years and then had a big crash, literally just reversed the returns. Well, again, when timing is on your side and you have 25 years to accumulate, think of it as going up the mountain, it's not as much risk. But the problem is when you start taking withdrawals. Because you see, if you have this negative sequence of returns in the beginning, again, think retirement 2002, retirement 2008, and you're taking out withdrawals, that's devastating to your portfolio. That's almost a sure way that your assets are not going to outlast you. And it's because you're pulling out money to live on while the market is pulling large chunks as well. Of course, when the wind is in your sail, the market's doing great, it doesn't matter because it's been able to keep up with those withdrawals. So a 70-30 stock bond portfolio grows from 100,000 to 300,000 over 1997 to 2014. Again, poor timing has a very different outcome. Now, Wade Pfau is another industry expert who has really challenged the 4% rule. And you can certainly Google him, Wade Pfau, P-F-A-U, his name right here. And these are different ways that he's saying we can adjust to minimizing the risk of bad timing. We can spend conservatively, use a safe withdrawal rate. Again, the gross withdrawal rate of 4 is not the number. Wade has historically said around 2%. So think for every million, you can take out 20 grand every year for the rest of your life. Maintain spending flexibility. So this can be stressful, right? We have what we call affectionately the MUG, mortgage, utilities, groceries, gas. We want to be able to cover those expenses with guarantees no matter what. But if we have some flexibility in our payment, then that could be really stressful. One month, maybe we can cover them, the next month we can't. Reduce volatility. So this has been a common theme where you simply put more in safe money type investments. The problem is what I showed you with the Fidelity site, right? The treasuries are no longer producing any kind of return. And then a buffer asset. This strategy consists of holding assets outside of the portfolio that are not correlated with it to withdraw from in case of a downturn. In other words, you have another bucket of money that you pull from. So if your regular 70-30 portfolio is suffering from the market, you have somewhere else you can just let that suffer in silence. In other words, not be forced to sell when the market's down. So here's Moshe that I was telling you about. Again, very well-respected professor of finance. Markets don't have to go down and stay down to ruin your retirement. All you need is a bear market at the wrong time, and the sustainability of your income is cut in half. I mean, these are fighting words. The real cost of volatility. And so what this is showing you is when you have this loss here, 10, 20, 30, what does it take to recover? And it's far more than most people think. So if I have a 30% loss in the market, it's a 43% return I need to get back to even. But if I'm taking withdrawals, it's significantly more. So again, the sustainable withdrawal theory is no longer accurate. Old thinking. This is, I'm sorry, I said Bob Merton. He was the Nobel laureate. Sorry about that, Bob. I got Bob on the brain. Bob, it's Bill Bingen. This is the RIA in California. I'm going to run through this. This is the slide I wanted to share with you guys. Got a little ahead of myself. So 4% growth, remove 1% for advisory fees, remove 0.5 to 1% for the underlying investment. That's why Wade Pfau says the net now is really 2% on every million. Take out 20 grand and that's sustainable. I don't know your personal situation. And as Bob said, this is purely educational. So please take this in the context for what it was meant. Traditional thinking is no longer valid because we don't have pension plans, because we don't have the bond market we once had, and folks are living longer than they have. Even if everyone in someone's family died before 80, due to medicine and improvements in lifestyle, we got to take better care of ourselves. Longevity is a real issue. This is very interesting. So T. Rowe Price, amongst other fund families, will do these Monte Carlo simulations, and they will show you success probability, if you will. And so let me just ask you a simple question. if you are about to board a plane that had a 40% chance of not landing, are you boarding that plane? I know the answer. No one has to respond. I know the answer, right? And so what they have done is they've taken thousands and thousands of simulations of up markets, down markets, varying markets. And here they show you if you have 100%, if you have 100% investment of equities and you take out a 5% withdrawal, there's a 60% chance of success. That means 40% chance of failure. But most people aren't going to have a 100% equity portfolio, right? So now let's go over here to a 60-40. If you have a 60-40 portfolio and you take out that same 5%, our odds went down. And this is the point of market volatility and the lifetime income. This is where market volatility and longevity really meet. Because again, this is gross. This is not accounting for inflation. This is not accounting for fees, which come with the package, right? I mean, you could go do it yourself, but then you get what you pay for. And, that is something I'd like to point out that there are a lot of ways to handle your money. And again, my job is not to tell you one way is the right way. My job is to educate you. You have an amazing resource in Bob and Scott Wealth Management. I've been calling on them for almost my entire career, and high integrity, high character, not afraid to challenge what's being out there to really make sure he's serving his clients as best he can. So these are all prompts to get you to have conversations with Bob and his team to determine what's going to be the best fit for you. So life expectancy, due to time, I'm going to kind of speed up here. Let me get to so life expectancy, again, is not a drop dead age. Life expectancy is a median drop dead age. So when you're planning for not only how are you going to take the money, where are you going to take it from to sustain your mug, to cover your mortgage, utilities, groceries, and gas, the lifestyle you want, we have to decide, well, how long am I going to need it? And again, if life expectancy is 83 for males, 87 for females, that's just the median drop dead age. That's not the full drop dead age. So as you age, your life expectancy goes longer. And then certain demographics actually improve life expectancy. So a female age 50 and the bottom 20% of wage earners, actually life expectancy goes down. But that same age 50 female in the top 20% of wage earners, life expectancy goes up. So it is a calculation. That formula I showed y'all earlier is kind of intimidating, but it is a calculation. And there are resources out there to help solve the equation. Again, men, top wage earners, bottom wage earners, it just extends that life expectancy. And it's really not surprising. I mean, when you're a top wage earner, chances are you have good health insurance, you take care of yourself, you maybe take some time off to refresh, renew. So it's not surprising that life expectancy improves. Now, this is the one that also is really interesting. More happy 100 birthday cards have been sold in recent years than all previous decades prior. And that's because people are living longer. So this is just some good stats. 1 in 20 women who are 40 today will live past 100. For men, it's 1 in 40. Average American at 65 in 2015 had a better than 1 in 3 chance of living to 90. We got a plan for this, folks. So, Bob, I'm going to pause because we're right at 11:30. I want to see if there's anything you want to interject. If you would like me to keep going, it's totally your call.
I think you keep going, Kristen. I mean, I can listen to this stuff all day long. But yeah, I think this is great. So I think, if people have to bag out, they can send me an email or give us a call. And those that want to continue listening, that's great. And please pepper us with some Q&A as we work through this.
Perfect. Okay, well, I'll keep going. So, retirement income pitfalls in review. Accumulation versus income thinking. There's different measurements of risk and success. Bob and his team are fully capable. Oh, were you going to say something, Bob?
Yeah, you're getting into the heart of the matter here. So for people that are on, don't, if you can stay, I'd encourage it. So go ahead, Kristen.
Accumulation versus income thinking. There's different measurements of risk and success. Bob has the tools to help you identify what is best for you. Our focus on the wrong measures can lead to failure, and really the failure to address the right problem. Providing dependable funding for spending needs. Focusing on the wrong measures, we risk failure. We risk falling down the mountain. Misplaced faith in the 4% rule. I think I beat that one to death, but the 4% rule is no longer valid. All the industry experts say it. We need to recalculate what that 4% means and what the real number is for you. And then planning for longevity. Again, life expectancy is not a drop dead age. It is a median drop dead age. And that is frankly why insurance companies like Jackson can risk pool all the assets and provide guarantees based on life expectancy. I always say it's just actuarial math. It's no different than State Farm. How can they insure homes in Louisiana, where I'm from, after Katrina hits? Well, they risk pool the assets. They might shut it down for a while, but then they go back to risk pooling all the assets. It's no different at its very basic level for an insurance company. We risk pool the assets, but we only have to pay for 50% of the people who live beyond life expectancy, right? Because the other 50 died early, and then the actuarial math works out. We can hedge for that. 75% of people have a retirement spending plan, but 25% do not. It's totally coincidental that the 75 and 25 matches the chart that I showed you earlier, but it's also scary because what if that 25% of retirees that do not have a plan for how they're going to withdraw their retirement assets happen to fall into the poor timing or the life expectancy jackpot? That's, again, something we can help you with. How you consume your money matters. Unsophisticated approach versus conventional wisdom. Conventional wisdom adds 3 years of income. 3 years doesn't sound like a lot, but again, if your life expectancy, there's a 50% chance one of you in a married couple is going to live into their 90s, it's significant. This is getting into some details. I don't know if it's easy to read on the screen. It's hard to read on mine, so I apologize for that. But traditional versus proportional, although traditional approach of ordering withdrawals can help accounts last longer, according to a Fidelity study, retirees may be able to make their accounts last even longer by taking proportional withdrawals from retirement accounts as opposed to that fixed amount to make their to lessen the tax drag on overall withdrawals, meaning their gross withdrawal percentage can be lower. So as we saw earlier, all things being equal, a lower withdrawal percentage means that your retirement accounts can last longer. And then we have good old Uncle Sam. And it doesn't matter who you voted for, who's in office, we have some money to pay back. Taxes are going up. I think we would all agree on that. So one of the most misunderstood parts of our tax code is that we don't pay that higher tax bracket on $1, right? It's a progressive tax bracket. As you cross each threshold, then the percentage goes up. But this too is something you can control, not evade, but control with some of the different products that insurance companies can offer. Don't try this at home. A professional could help a retiree. Bob could help you implement a sophisticated withdrawal strategy. So the help of Bob and his team, you can absolutely implement a sophisticated withdrawal strategy. It doesn't have to be complicated. Any part of this presentation, we can dig in, Bob can dig in and explain in more detail. But the years added to retirement are tangible evidence of the value of a specialized financial, the years added to retirement are tangible evidence of someone like Bob and his professionalism and his decades of experience that he can bring to your retirement plan. So the big question, can we design a plan where failure is still an acceptable retirement? Kind of rhetorical. I first started in the business at Mass Mutual, and they always said, people do not plan to fail, they fail to plan. So I am encouraging you and empowering you to take time, sit down with Bob, and go through your plan. You might be well on your way with the right track, but there might be some pitfalls that he could help you avoid so you don't fall down the mountain. This is just digging into the risk pooling, how an insurance company can handle the risk pooling. It's the State Farm example. You know, our folks in marketing like to get really detailed. I like to just tell you how it is. We joke, we say how the watch is built or what time it is. Again, all of these are conversations. We can absolutely get into the details, but again, for sake of time, we're way over. Again, explaining the Monte Carlo simulation. So my clients won't run out of money. Bob's never said that, because if he hasn't sat down with you to review it, he can't control, right? The market, he can't control your longevity, and he certainly can't control inflation. 63% of retirees fear running out of money more than death. Again, guys, that goes back to my original statement. 10,000 people turn 65 every day for the next decade. That's all of our baby boomers turning 65 every day for the next decade. Only 4% have some form of guaranteed lifetime income, aside from Social Security. So here is where I'm going to introduce a concept, but I'm not going to pitch a product, because again, I don't know you and it's not my job to pitch a product. But Moshe Milevsky, the guy who 20 years ago, the PhD who went out to write an article criticizing annuities, actually wound up writing an article, Confessions of a VA Critic. All of these researchers agree that life annuities or lifetime income annuities are a legitimate and core product for the optimal retirement portfolio. Do annuities solve everything? Heck no. They are just a piece of the pie. But if you don't have a pension, if you can't depend on the bond market, if you have a 50% chance of living to your 90, it's definitely something you should review and consider with Bob, if anything, to cover your mug. Annuities can risk pool, longevity risk, market risk, and help manage your financial risk. The annuity strategies are unique. They've evolved over the last several decades. These are not your grandma's annuities. These are not the kind of products that you give your money to the insurance company and you die and the insurance company keeps it. They don't work like that anymore. And again, I would encourage you to sit down with Bob and decide where this fits for you. Based on research conducted, this is an old stat. Ooh, we got to get that updated. Framed as a pure investment, 21% of people chose an annuity with lifetime income. But framed as a way to provide retirement income over a long period, 72 people. I can tell you a more recent study put out by Dalbar. Dalbar asked annuity owners how satisfied they were with their annuities. 86% said they were very satisfied with their annuity. Almost all of them said, if given the chance, would they buy another one? And they said yes. Why haven't they? Because no one asked. So today we are asking you to sit down with Bob and go through your retirement decumulation plan, specifically your income plan. So when you go down the mountain, you don't fall. I'm going to pause. I don't see any Q&A. So Bob, I don't know if you want to throw me some softballs, or you want to maybe speak to some things that your clients have asked you over the years that maybe would be of interest to the folks on the line.
I'm just going to highlight a couple things that I thought were that we've talked about in the past that are kind of interesting. For one, that 40% on that Monte Carlo analysis really sticks in my mind. If I was getting on a plane and somebody said, well, there is a 40% chance that we'll crash, I'd probably drive. So I think that's important for people to understand what the, probability of success and, converse of that is the probability of failure is for the retirement plan. So that's kind of interesting. The other thing that I would throw out there is, the presentation I've wanted to give, and Kristen may hang up on us here, is the truth about annuities, because they do get a lot of bad press from time to time. Well, there was an article yesterday published by Dalbar that speaks to the performance of annuities, and basically it indicates that VA investors, variable annuity investors, earn more than the average investor in the past 12 months, over the past 3 years, and over the past 5 years. And so I think there's a lot of misperceptions about how they work and what they do. But the one thing that should be clear to everybody is there are risks with markets and taxes, and to have an additional guaranteed source of income like a Social Security check is huge. And actually, we have an overachiever out there, Kristen. Somebody's asking a question. Are there a good variety of investments available in a Jackson annuity?
Yes, I'm so glad they did. And I was actually going to share my screen here. Right on our public website. Sorry, I'm trying to get it back up. Just 1 second here. Right on our public website, we have all of our performance. Jackson National Asset Management is the asset arm of Jackson, and they are the 15th largest asset manager in the United States. What that means to you is that we have very deep research on who is allowed to be on our platform. We have multiple asset classes, over 100 investments to choose from. If you go to our public website, which is jackson.com, you literally scroll one finger, and right here, explore the performance, you click on that. By the way, we're the third largest manager of managers, only third to Fidelity and Vanguard. Scroll here. There's 4 main products. I'm going to click on just the investment only one because it's the top one, but you can click on any of these. It defaults to grouping by asset class, but I think that's kind of confusing because we are such a leader in this space and we do such a deep vetting process. We literally, the portfolio managers have to sing for their supper every quarter to stay on our platform. A lot of folks will use us as the litmus test of, okay, what's working in the market? Again, we never want to chase returns, so please don't misunderstand that. But what's really great about our, completely consumer-facing performance site is any of these columns you can click on to sort. So year to date, it shows you, well, energy is up, financials are up, and then some other categories. I could click on 1 year. Those are some pretty crazy returns. And our hallmark is that we never influence your investments. We vet out the best in class. Your financial advisor, Bob, and you sit down and decide what investment mix makes sense for me. Now, you are paying for insurance, right? You're insuring your volatile assets because you're going to stay invested. So keep that in mind. We don't necessarily need to insure bond funds. That's going to go backwards. But there is a variety of investments. You can sort, you can filter, you can even analyze. So you can pick 3 at a time. You can subscribe. I don't recommend looking at it daily. This is a long-term investment. But you can print it and sort it in the way you want and then print it and really research it. One other thing I'll point out, we just had a huge lineup overhaul last Monday, but typically you see these exclusives. These are funds that maybe are closed to the retail space or closed to anyone aside from Jackson. They're exclusive to Jackson. When you click on the fund, a Morningstar fact sheet comes up just right at your fingertips. So again, you can do your own homework on here. So the simple answer, yes, we have a large variety of investments available with 0 restrictions. I highly recommend you let Bob work you through that, but we also have models, we have index, we have low cost, we have it all.
And I would just say that's Kristen talked about the evolution of these annuities. I mean, these are, these things, like everything in our great country, continuous improvement. So these products have become more and more competitive and more in sync with what people need. So, I think that's it. You need to tackle that next question, Kristen. I don't know how to answer that.
It's funny. So again, I'm not here to push a product. I'm not here to pretend I know your clients and their needs. So Mr. Means, I'm going to give you a tool that I think would be fun for you. That's right here on our public website. The one thing I will mention is fixed annuities are going to be general account assets. So you definitely want to pay attention to the financial strength of the company. And again, Bob isn't going to position anything that isn't strongly rated. However, with the interest rate environment, I showed you on the Fidelity page, right? When your treasuries are 10-year 1.57, 20-year 2.14, you need to recognize there just isn't a lot of opportunity there. And as a 60-year-old, again, not knowing you, statistically speaking, there's a 1 in 3 chance you're living to 90. Again, I don't know you. But just keep that in mind. So let me share with you what I think is a really fun tool. It's on our public website. Again, it's you can just access it on your own. So you go to jackson.com, and then right here under menu. So I click, let me just click back out so you can see where I did that. Right here under menu, it says tools for your practice. And I know that's kind of speaking to the advisor, but this is all public facing. You click there and you scroll 2 fingers this time to retirement expense and income calculator and start calculating. We're not going to do a full calculation, but this is really eye-opening. BLM statistics, Bureau of Land Management Statistics, supply the inflation piece. And while that presentation focuses a lot on 2 of the sequence of concerns, the third one, inflation, is the difference between retiring with dignity or not. I mean, if your purchasing power does not keep up, if a box of Cheerios today is $4 and in 15 years it's $15, you still got to buy the box of Cheerios because you're still going to eat it. So these are the things that this calculator really comes into play. Please know Jackson is not funding the rest of the data. It's Hedgeness, which is a reputable company, is supplying all the data. It just sits on our website. So over here, client information, you can plug in your information. So again, I'm not going to do a full customization. I'm just going to show you this. Let's pretend you are in Colorado, but you would like to retire in Arizona. And we're going to say that we're going to plan income till 95, because the reality is you could live that long. So what it did, let's see, 60, Colorado, yep. I don't know why it's not recognizing this. 95, boom. Boom. Oh, hello. I made you retire at 95. We're not doing that. Let's say you're going to retire in 10 years. And then your end of, we're going to put you at 25 years in retirement. So what this did as I was implementing those numbers is it was adjusting all this. It was showing you today's dollars and the inflated dollars. You can click on each of these arrows and go plug in the numbers you want. So what it's really highlighting is the MUG, mortgage, utilities, groceries, gas. And again, you can get as granular as you want. I'm not changing a thing because of our time frame here. Then you scroll down, it gives you the inflation, again, all powered by BLM statistics. And here's monthly expenses inflated. It's color coded with housing and transportation and all that. Right here, gap analysis. So now it's taking everything you put on the first screen. How much of this in retirement do you want to protect? Well, maybe you say, my mortgage is going to be paid off, so I'm going to scroll that back. I'm still going to have homeowners fees and taxes, but I'm not going to need all that. Healthcare, I'm going to need 100%. That's your biggest risk in retirement outside of the 3 sequence concerns is the inflation of healthcare. Personal expenses, well, I'm going to have a little bit more free time, so I'm going to, treat myself to some new shoes or new, going out to dinner outfit. Probably going to eat out a little bit more, have a little bit more time to enjoy my friends, and I'm going to go see the grandkids. So again, you do whatever makes sense for you, but that's how you slide across to make those numbers what you think you'll spend in retirement. And then over here is where you plug in any source of guaranteed income you already have. So let's say you have 1,700 of Social Security coming in every month. You were once a teacher, so you have 900 of a pension from para. And now we have this income gap of, based on these expenses, we have an income gap of just under $800 a month. So we scroll down and we hit proposed gap solution. And I'm going to click on the zero return because I just want to look at like worst case scenario. What would I put in a Jackson annuity today to fill the gap? And then you can also look at market returns, a conservative return or 0, 125. Aggressive, well, you could put less if you wanted to. Oops, let me check. You could put less if you were going to take advantage of the equity exposure. Then you go to client report and you can print any of these. I'll just do retirement income. I'll generate the report. And all it does, Mr. Means, is it just spits back to you what you put in. So literally goes through each step of it in an easy to understand visual of what you put in. So I hope that helps. I mean, there's no one size fits all. That's why it's so important to work with a financial professional like Bob. Even Jackson doesn't offer a one size fits all. We have, what, Bob, like 35 different combinations that you get to customize to meet the client's needs, so you don't overcharge them, so you don't guarantee something they don't need guaranteeing. I mean, there's so many variables here to consider. But I hope that, you know, this fun tool puts you in the right direction. And Bob, I can send it to you again. It's our public website, so there's no login.
Perfect. Perfect. Well, shoot, I think that's it, Kristen. And I appreciate your time as always. Great information. And for those of you listening that are clients, by all means, you know, we've been talking about retirement income planning and taxes for a while. Any of you that are not clients of Scott Strategic that would like to discuss these topics or retirement in general or investments, give us a call, and happy to talk to you. Kristen.
Thank you for the invite and trusting me with your clients. I hope I didn't overwhelm them with facts too much, but gave y'all some things to talk about.
No, I appreciate your time, and well done. For those of you who didn't realize that there's about 80 or 90 slides, so we cut it down to spare everybody a little bit here. So again, Kristen, have a great day, and thanks for your time.
Thank you. Bye,
okay.
everyone.
Bye-bye.